Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, episode 18 of Day of the Dragon by Richard A. Knack. Let's go! Necro shoved a peon with an angry grunt. Things were not going fast enough, as far as he was concerned. The lower caste orcs were moving around at a snail's pace, and his scouts kept coming back insisting there was absolutely no trace of an advancing alliance force whatsoever. Bloody useless morons, the lot of them. He knew the truth. Necros turned to see his chief handler awkwardly standing right next to him.
Speak, Progress. Why are you skulking around? The male, Necros. I think he dies soon.
Again, Necros grunted in frustration. Things were going from bad to worse.
Show me.
So the two of them then moved as fast as Necros could hop to a nearby cavern, which housed the eldest and possibly only surviving consort of Alexstrasza, as far as they were concerned. Tyrannostraz. Despite the beast still being a most impressive sight, Necros knew from the creature's laboured breathing that he was, indeed, probably going to die soon.
How long's he been like this? Since last night. On and off. Well, then you should have told me sooner.
Necros wanted to punch Brogus, but didn't. Truth was, he'd already suspected they'd lose the Elder Dragon.
What do we do now, Necros? Zuluhead will be furious. He'll have our heads atop poles. We've no choice. Get him prepared for moving. Dead or alive, we're taking him with us. Let Zuluhead do what he will. But obey orders, you simp.
Brogus nodded and hurried off, whilst Necros studied the dying male a bit more, and then made his way to Alexstrasza's chamber.
Why do you persist in this madness? All your efforts will only lead to your death. You have the chance to save your men, and yourself. We're not craven. We're not backstabbing scum, like Orgrim Doomhammer. The Dragonmore clan fights to the bloody end. And fleeing to the north. Is that how you fight?
Necros immediately pulled the demon soul out of his pocket. That little jab obviously got under his skin.
There's things you don't know, Ancient One. Sometimes flight leads to fight. There's no getting through to you, is there? Ha! At last. You learn. Tell me this, then. What were you doing in Tyran's chamber? What ails him now? Nothing for you to worry your head about, O Queen. Better to think of yourself. We'll be moving you soon. Behave, and it'll be less painful.
Necros then stormed off, back into the vast corridors of Grimbatol. He couldn't spend any more time worrying about dragons. At least not red ones. But he had a plan. If Deathwing arrived first, before the Alliance army, then everything was going to be fine. Because he had the Demon Soul. Surely he could use it to force the Black Leviathan to do his bidding. Force Deathwing to unleash Hellfire on the Alliance. Absolutely flawless plan, nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Ronin woke up for the 735th time or something, and decided the best thing to do would be to remain completely and utterly still, so as to avoid another run-in with the golem. But, much to his relief, he then realised the thing was nowhere to be... Oh no, wait, there it is. Damn thing was playing games with him. Or was it the orc leaders doing? Or perhaps Krill had arranged this trickery. Didn't really matter that much though. Whoever was doing it was a prick. Now, partly due to weakness, partly due to depression, and partly due to sheer boredom, Ronin then nodded off and started to dream. He dreamt of dragons at first, then ghosts of past companions, dwarves, and then finally he dreamt of Verisa. Lovely, lovely Verisa. The dream itself became increasingly more vivid, so much so that Ronin then started to actually hear her voice calling out his name. It was soft and soothing at first, but when he didn't respond, she started to sound quite pissed off. Ronin! The wizard then stirred and opened his eyes, and for a brief moment felt his heart fill with hope. Verisa, and Falstad, and Krill. What bloody hell was he doing with them? But said feeling of hope was then immediately replaced by fear and dread. Look out! The golem then appeared, and reached out towards both Verisa and Falstad, whilst the little goblin wanker disappeared from sight. Its hands! Don't let it touch you! And then chaos ensued, with the elf and dwarf playing some kind of high-stakes game of tag with the golem, dodging and darting about like maniacs. And at the sight of seeing his friends, but mainly just Verisa, in danger, Ronin suddenly found a whole bunch of inner strength, casting one spell to break the shackles binding him, and preparing another to cast towards the golem itself. However, small calloused hands that smelled of cabbage then wrapped around his throat from behind. Naughty, naughty wizard! Don't you know you're supposed to die? Now, the lack of air did have Ronin's mind spinning for a moment or two, plus he had spent the last several days being tortured, but 'twas a goblin versus a fully grown man. Damn you in your magical ways!
Sod this!
Grill then tried to cheese it, but the fiery golem had other ideas. Turning its attention away from Verisa and Faustad for a moment, it opened its jaw, a burst of ebony fire shot out, and Krill got absolutely incinerated. The fiery golem then returned its focus to Verisa, with its jaw opening wide again.
No!
And Ronin, utilising sheer will, conjured a shield more powerful than anything he'd ever created. The golem's dark flames struck the invisible barrier, rebounded, and then it exploded, causing everyone to fly back against walls and rock, whilst the ceiling itself collapsed. Another meanwhile, the dragon Deathwing was flying east across the sea, heading towards Grimbatol, smiling to himself. Everything had gone exactly according to plan. He would soon be King of Alterac, married to the King of Lordaeron's daughter, and in just a few years, which was a blink of an eye to a dragon, he'd be in place to completely annihilate humans, and dwarves, and elves. All of the shits. Suck it, Khadgar. Yet, little did he know, there was another dragon flying the sky this night. A dragon that had not flown for quite a long time, and was a little bit out of practice. But Krasus, or rather Corielstraz, was also making his way to Grimbatol. This was it. The end game. It was not going to be simple. Despite being out in the open, Alexstrasza would still be surrounded by a significant number of orcs, and also Deathwing was a bit of an obstacle. The Red Dragon soon arrived at a secluded peak at the edge of Khazmodan, took a few moments to get his bearings, and then shut his eyes and focused on the medallion in Verisa's possession.
Verisa.
However, there was no reply. It had been a while since he'd left them in the tunnels. Perhaps the elf was in a precarious situation, or perhaps she was in a mood with him.
Verisa. Make some sound, however slight, to acknowledge that you hear me.
Again, no reply.
Elf.
Nothing. Balls. So he'd got Ronin killed, and now he'd got these other two unfortunate fools killed as well. That was certainly going to play on his conscience a little bit.
It's not too late for you, my queen.